I think like every industry and every company worldwide, also the German startup ecosystem and venture capital industry was heavily affected by COVID-19. When the lockdown came in March, a lot of investors, they stopped doing deals, they stopped looking at new deals because nobody really knew where the situation was heading, how consumer behavior was changing. And obviously, if you cannot meet the founders, this is a very big part of the decision making process if you want to invest in a company or not. So this made things a lot harder. And also for a lot of startups, this was a really, really tough time, especially in the hospitality or mobility space. On the other side, also some companies, especially in consumer space or in the healthcare space, they could also profit from the situation. But overall, I think it was a massive change for everybody. And I think luckily we can say now that everything is more or less back to pre-COVID-19 levels, which is really, really good situation.
The corona crisis has brought to the whole startup world a very big challenge. Also we at Right Now faced smaller and bigger challenges throughout the pandemic. Luckily, however, we also had major growth, especially in the first month of the corona crisis. With our travel products, we help travelers whose travels or flights were cancelled due to the crisis. We are very happy that we can help those people with our legal tech products. Of course, we also had home office for our whole team. And I want to thank our team for the great efforts and for the perfect work they have done in the home office situation. We are now very positive to continue our growth in the next month.
Due to the fact that we work with a large network of warehouses all across Germany, one of the biggest fears we had in the beginning, or I would say one of the biggest risks we saw, was that some or really several of the warehouses would have to shut down due to corona cases at the sites. And fortunately not a single one with active customers had to do that, so pretty lucky there. On the other side, especially in the beginning, I would say it was pretty hard to attract new customers and to really onboard new customers. A lot of projects got delayed also due to supply chain interruptions, stuff like that. So that was a bit harder. But fortunately, we also have quite a lot of e-commerce businesses among our customer base. So actually, we're even able to outperform our growth targets. So overall, I would say the COVID-19 impact on our business was pretty mild.
I think one of the biggest effects definitely was moving completely to 100% remote work. I think a lot of companies have done it before partially, and then when you could see what was happening in Southern European countries, companies moved to 50% remote work, but then doing 100%, I think this definitely was the biggest adjustment, and not doing any in-person meetings anymore. Which usually is a crucial part of the business in the venture capital industry and also in the startup ecosystem. That definitely was a change. Also, when you had to onboard new employees to do this fully remote, this definitely was a new situation. But I think everybody managed it pretty well, and you could also see that it really does work.
Even before the corona crisis, our corporate culture was characterized by a very flexible working. And during the corona crisis, this helped us, because from one day to the other, we had to move the whole team in a home office situation. This worked very well. We organized a lot of afternoon meetings or sundowners and had a beer with a Zoom conference or Google Hangout conference. And we are very happy that our team worked so perfectly together and with a great time throughout the crisis, even though, of course, this was a big challenge for all of us in the startup world.
Yeah, besides, of course, a bit of changes concerning the way we communicate with customers and partners and so on, and attracting them, the main change and adjustment we made was, of course, going remote. So beginning of March, the whole team went into home office. And that was definitely a new situation, also a challenge for us, because we didn't do that so much before. So everybody was like always in the office, always together. So we pretty abruptly had to implement a lot of new processes and communication structures. So yeah, I would say that was the biggest change and also challenge we as a team faced.
I think not being at the office together, not being able to work together, just to speak over the phone or do a lot of video conferencing, was a bit something that people were a bit afraid of in the beginning. It was just very new to everybody. So people were skeptic. But in the end, I think everybody realized that it is actually possible, especially because everybody knew it was for a limited amount of time. And I think everybody saw also the positive effects about not having to spend a lot of time commuting, and everybody could see that it does work. Obviously, it's a bit different if you cannot do any in-person meetings, but it really can work. I would say in the beginning everybody was skeptic, but I think after a couple of weeks everybody had adapted and was able to work basically as efficient as everybody was before.
Our team worked perfectly in the home office situation. As a legal tech company, it is at our core that we help consumers to enforce their rights against big companies. During the Corona crisis, this became even more important than it is in everyday situations anyway. Because many travels, many flights were cancelled due to Corona, and we help the travelers to enforce their rights in these situations. Of course, we have the technical equipment to do all this work we are doing in the legal sector from home. This is very good that we enabled the company, even before the crisis, to work remotely. And speaking about the team, I think that our vision and that our team culture has grown through the Corona crisis, and that we have improved our whole company and moved it to a next level.
Yeah, so as going remote is of course mainly an internal thing. Also, yeah, mainly the team was affected by this, and I would say everybody reacted extremely positively and was very supportive right from the start of the decision of going completely remote, and then adapted very quickly to all the new processes and communication structures we had in place, like having morning stand-ups in every team, every morning, a lot of all-hands meetings, check-ins, and documenting much more of what you're doing all the time. And yeah, I think everything went really great, but still in the end, I think after about 3 months going completely remote, everybody was also very happy getting back to the office again and getting back together as a team, having beers together, which I think is also very important as an early stage startup. But yeah, overall, I think very positive reactions, and everybody coped really well.
I think in the way people work, COVID-19 has created some changes, opportunities, because everybody started to realize that working remotely does work and can be as efficient as being in the office, or even can be more efficient, because you save time commuting to your workplace, and basically you can be more flexible. So I think this definitely was an opportunity to see that flexible or remote working can actually work inside also big organizations. And I think on the other hand side, COVID-19 has created a big push for digitization in Germany, in Europe, and in the world, because a lot of the digital companies, they were not as heavily affected by this massive change as traditional industries. So I think this is creating a lot of opportunities, especially for digital companies. And inside the digital space, I think especially consumer companies and also healthcare companies can benefit from this trend. And so I think, yes, as sad as the whole situation has been and still is, it also does create some new opportunities.
The Corona crisis has shown that digitalizing every aspect of our life is crucial for the next years. In the legal sector, digitalization is still very little. So we as a legal tech company work every day to improve this fact and to digitalize the whole legal sector, especially with regard to consumer rights and consumer claims. I think that the Corona crisis thus has again highlighted that in Germany and all over Europe, politicians and everybody needs to work on this legal tech movement, support the legal tech movement, and make sure that digitalization becomes a part of everybody's life.
Yeah, so something that I definitely wouldn't have thought that came out of this was that we became much more open to the idea of working remotely and home office and overall being more flexible concerning working modes because it worked out that well. So that's definitely something I didn't expect. Secondly, what we are also seeing now and what's a big chance for us is that a lot of companies are reevaluating the way they think their supply chains and logistics processes, and they really see that they need to become more flexible, and that's where we can of course provide very good solutions. So definitely also trends that will fuel our future growth.
So the three key learnings from this crisis for us were that remote work actually does work, that we can save a lot of time traveling and commuting, and also that startups and digital companies are a lot more robust to change and crises than a lot of people thought. So I think when the lockdown happened and everybody started working remotely from home, everybody was challenging if this is really going to work out. If not being in an office together does work, and I think it turns out it works out really well. Gives people a lot of flexibility, and actually working remotely together, collaborating does really work. I think another key learning is that everybody can save a lot of time traveling and commuting and taking a lot of in-person meetings, because it is possible to do a lot of this via video conferencing. It is possible to build real relationships via video conferencing, and I think everybody's going to take more and more advantage of this in the future. And I think most importantly, we learned that digital companies, startups are really robust to crises and change. They can adapt a lot faster than traditional companies. They are a lot more flexible, and they can also sometimes take advantage of difficult situations because they're able to maneuvering faster. So I think those were the three key learnings for us during this crisis.
First, digital progress begins in the company. As a legal tech company, digitalization is at the core of our business. And because of this, of course, we have enabled the whole company to work remotely. And I hope that the Corona crisis will bring this situation to many more companies and to the whole economy. Second, motivation promotes efficiency. I think that our team culture and our corporate culture has very much improved throughout the Corona crisis, because even though we could not see each other in a physical way, we were in very big and very good contact through Zoom conferences, etc. And I think this has helped us a lot. And third, the right way. With right now as a legal tech company, we are on the right track to digitalize the legal sector and to help consumers enforce their rights in normal, everyday life, and also the crisis situation is the COVID-19 pandemic.
The three main things we learned were first of all, it's really important to establish good and efficient communication within the team. That's something that happened a lot on the go before we went into this, and we established a lot more structure there, and I think really profited from that and built up structures that will also help us with our future growth. Second of all, being more open to home office and working remotely and overall more flexible concerning working modes, also major outcome. And the third thing is, I think once again, this is proven that especially as a startup, you really have to be prepared for uncertainty. And always know that no matter what plans you have and so on, always something unexpected happens, and you, as a company, in your business model, but also as a team, you have to remain flexible and agile, and that definitely reinforced that within our minds, and I guess will also help us to cope with whatever will come in the future.